fitness studio, the electrical is getting finished up this week, and as soon as that is done, that concrete slab will be poured. They're hoping that will happen this week, but it's all dependent on electrical getting done, and if not this week, then it'll be right away at the beginning of next week. That is a milestone date, in my opinion, because everything will have a slab in the entire building once that is poured. And so that will be nice to see, a little safer to take people around in, but that's supposed to be happening at the end of this week. Then framing for the walls will start happening, and then after that, going into a little bit into August, rough in and drywall the first couple weeks of August in the fitness studio. The pool area, rock has been brought back in for the base layer. That's kind of been happening over the last week or so. Right now, the surge pit is being formed and poured. That is kind of ongoing over the next couple of weeks for the schedule. And then after that, there will be, they'll form and pour the retaining walls, and that will go into the first week of August, and then start piping rough ends, which will be middle of August. So we'll start seeing a lot of the nuts and bolts of that getting put together. The classrooms and locker rooms is the farthest along because that's what was poured first. So framing, significant progress all the way through has taken place on that area, and they will just continue working on that, and drywall and finish will happen in that first week of August, and then painting the next week in August. And so with that, in the walls that they are putting backing, strong backing on the walls where we'll have things, maybe it's a monitor screen hung there, or the donor wall that has things hung there. So they'll be putting in the backing for that. And so we talked through all of that and made sure that they know where all that needs to be. The boulevard part, that pour of the first phase started last week, and they have a good chunk of that poured. That will continue to be poured and come back on the other. They went down one side of the boulevard. Now they'll start coming down the other side, and that will continue for another week or so, and possibly longer than that, just to get that completed. And that will be significant because that will provide another entrance into the site. And once that can happen, then they will prepare the south third of the parking lot, and that will be poured. And so we look, into a little bit into August, maybe mid-August, and that will really be taking shape. That'll be nice for those of us that have to go up there. It's a big, huge rock that you have to drive over, and so when they get that all poured, but once they have the second entrance available, then that will be good to go. We're talking about doing a visit. I was talking with Seward Changing the Game leadership with Shane Bach, and one of the next meetings for them, we want to get the board out there for another site visit. So we're thinking about doing city council as well, and we're earmarking Monday, August 19th. So if you want to write that down, Monday, August 19th to do a site visit, and we will confirm, someone will get that out to you and confirm, so you guys can get on site, and then the time wise as well, we'll kind of discuss.
What time of day are you talking about?
Late afternoon.
You'll need to let us know, because probably if we get more than 4 of you out there, we're gonna call it, note it as a meeting, so that.
And we can work on a couple different ones. Usually
If we don't have 4 of you, then we'll be alright. We'll figure that out.
The workers, they start really early in the morning, so they're done and usually moving out by 3:30 or 4. They put in their full day, and so usually it's easy to walk around then. There's nothing to worry about, and obviously with all the slabs being poured in there, it's going to be nice to walk around everywhere. It'll be easy and safe, and so that's what we're looking at. Someone will get and confirm that with you, but we definitely want to do that, and we'll see a lot of progress, and want to show it off to you guys at that time. So, any questions on any those updates before I go into the membership fees. All right, spreadsheet that was shared with you shows our proposed membership fees. Hopefully that chart makes sense. Looked at between looking online and talking to different comparable cities that have similar buildings. That is all what fills out the chart. Ours is SWC, the first one on the left. And then size-wise, we compare the most with Beatrice. That's usually what we've been going through in this process, but a lot of those others fit in there. And so you can see, you can see those different categories that we looked at. I thought those were all important to have. Not every single facility has those, but I thought they were really important to have in ours. So you can see the progression of the monthly. Those numbers would be monthly membership fees, and then that daily one on the bottom. So if someone is not a member and they want to come in and just work out for the day, that is child, adult, and senior. Those are the three categories for that daily. And so that is what we had for you. The only non-resident extra fee that we'd have are for daily fees. And so in this model, again, this is just our first proposal, open for discussion. We did not have intention of doing regular membership fees being higher for non-residents, but daily, just the daily fees. And so as that works across, you can see some of the projected numbers.
Might be hard to see with the way that these load on our, oh, it's on the second page. No, it's there. It just cut over to the second page.
So from very beginning, even before I was on board, they were working with some budget numbers that proposed adults, 495 adult memberships, 325 family. That was from looking at and verifying with places like Beatrice what they have, similar places, and then adjusting to our town here. And so those are the numbers that we're gone with. And then on the bottom there, or to the right, that projection was $39 for an adult membership and $65 for family. So those first projections were from 39 and 65, which are what we're proposing would be slightly higher than that. And so that is where I got the different numbers. And so we have monthly, and then my thought was with the yearly 1 month free was to offer something if someone is interested in paying for the full year. The benefit of that is they're basically paying for 11 months. So the benefit of, hey, you want to upfront pay for the full year, you can have 1 month free. And so that's the difference. If everyone paid per month with those proposed numbers with our membership fees, that would be $540,300 in membership fees per year. And then if they all did the pay for the full year, yeah, pay up front, then it'd be the $495 number. And so that's still above what the estimate was. The $485 down there, I don't want to get too confusing. The $485 was what was projected way before we set the fees, was the projected number. So it's still above what was projected. Below the chart are some corporate rates, and these are still very much open for discussion of our large employers in town, of reaching out and offering a discounted corporate rate if a certain number of their employees would sign up. And so the 20% off is what I had just thrown out there so you could see what those membership rates were for those sections. The 10% off, that one to the right, is for Beatrice. That's under the Beatrice section because that is what they what they propose. We've also talked about having a couple different tiers with our large employers. So if they hit 50 employees, maybe it's this percentage off. If they hit 100, maybe it's another percentage off. So we still have a lot of talking to do going through that. The bottom notes are just interesting things that I found throughout the different YMCA's and similar facilities that I just took note of and might be worth discussing. One particular, the family daily rate. So if I have a big family of 5 or so, I'm not paying for each one individually. We hit a max if I'm coming in to, I'm in here for the holidays. I want to take my family up and get in the gym. We're not hammering them. There's a max for that. And then one interesting thing, you see Norfolk has the lowest rates. They are actually probably the second largest YMCA in the nation. And a lot of that, their rates are low because they have a lot of add-ons. They have just an enormous facility compared to some other ones, and they have a lot of different add-ons. So people are paying extra for these little things. We will not have that many add-ons except for some studio classes and maybe some training, some personal trainers. But we will not have as many as what they have. So those are just some different ideas, something to look at. And there's still a lot some moving parts with this, but this fits into what was budgeted previously and anticipated, and hopefully we can exceed the membership and do well with that. So, anything not make sense that you would like me to explain better?
So, it all makes sense, thank you. How will this ultimately be finalized and set? Does that go through the advisory board? Does that go through us?
I would think right now, leading up to it, you have the changing the game board.
Yeah,
Have
that's
them
what I
take a
meant.
look at it.
That's what I meant by the
Ultimately,
advisory.
when the building's built, I think you're gonna have to have a discussion about who you want to ultimately advise the operations of it. Do you default it over to Parks and Rec Board? Do you have this, since it's such a big operation, you have basically changing the game kind of do it? Cause they'll move to a foundational board
Right,
after the building is built.
right, understood.
And so you can get a recommendation from them, but ultimately be approved by you through the budget process. So, in
Okay.
short order, we will want, tonight was for feedback. We thought if it was a sticky wicket, we didn't wanna get in the middle of the budget and have this conversation the first time. Have it separately, get some eyes on it, digest it for a while, and then if there's something you felt strongly about, we can make adjustments one way or the other. But
Is there anything that I didn't have in here that you think we should think about?
So the scholarship development, Joel, for underprivileged kids that people are working on come up with, would that go into that annual number? Is that part of that annual number?
No, that would be a separate fund. And so this would be what is used for operations.
Gotcha.
So just right here is so we'll have several other different forms of revenue. This is only from memberships.
Gotcha.
And so, cause we'll have hosting events up there, birthday parties, and then there'll be a separate line for the scholarship fund.
Gotcha, great, thank you.
What about for like basketball practices, like will that be similar to like the Cattle Bank building then, where you charge them?
Yes, that'd be a rental, that'd go under rental
Okay.
fees and.
again, it will be dependent upon how they're associated with. As we move through, and you know with this program, as we've moved up the rec program and stuff, we're trying to get participation and input by those coaches, be a part of it, especially in the younger grades. So if you're involved in our rec programming, have a team go in there, there is no fee.
Yep.
We'll schedule you a practice, but if, say, you're a traveling basketball team and you're in 7th grade, they're gonna just pay the fee. We'll still work with them just like we do the cattle building to get designated time each week for them, that's age appropriate, but they'll pay the fee and that should be how that works.
Okay.
Same thing with volleyball and all the other sports that will wanna get in there and utilize it.
What's the rationale for why the out-of-town daily is more than the regular daily, but the out-of-town seasonal is not?
I think for the daily, it was just kind of a benefit for local of.
That'd be
not-
like, okay, so out of town seasonal would be like maybe people that live in the county but don't live in town? I mean, how does that work?
Well, we do something similar for, with the library.
Library, right?
Yeah, and so I was just curious what, cause you get to, you really talk about price points, cause you figure if I live outside of Seward, I'm gonna just do the math and figure, okay, if I go this many times, is it worth having the, but it's a different math than you would if you're in town, cause the cost per day is more for that person, right?
Whereas I think
Sure.
of like daily, like, oh, my sister's in town and she wants to take the kids.
I think your out of town dailies are gonna tend to be, based on this model, more likely, I came in from Florida for a week, I'm gonna go 2 times, versus, I live in Staplehurst, I'm just
Right.
probably buying a yearly membership for my whole family.
Right.
And then if people were gonna come in for like a birthday party, that would just be like a pool birthday party, for example, they would just have like a rental
Yeah.
fee
Right, they,
for the group, they wouldn't each be required to
no,
get a
they
daily
would not.
membership
They
or
would-
whatever.
no, we wouldn't do that for everyone. It would just be, yes, the rental fee for the family that's renting out the facility.
Another add-on that Joel didn't mention will be childcare as well.
Yes.
That'll have its own fee, both the before and after school care and then the child watch. They'll each have their own separate fees and fee systems. And then obviously when we do camps and stuff too in the summer, but for the first summer of 25, we don't anticipate, except maybe minor things if we're just off and running. We're not gonna do any big summer camps the first year.
Yes, Rich?
You know, another area is if someone wanted to use the facility for scrimmages with out-of-town people plus tournaments, I'm thinking of pickleball contests and things like that, is that in something that you guys have looked at?
Yeah,
And
that will,
should there be, I mean, it would involve a rental of the facility for a tournament, or, because your normal people with, the season passes may be limited on access during those times, right?
they would be if, tournaments are, the basketball tournament, we're not gonna have that. There will be separate Saturdays and
Right.
Sundays. So yes, we hope to not cut into, a normal practice time of any team. Or also the intention is, even when there's practice, there's always gonna be one of the courts open for regular use. So we hope to not limit people very
Makes
much at all.
There'll be someone that's, we anticipate though will be, for instance, when we have rec basketball games going on like a Saturday morning, we're gonna use all the courts
Oh,
and
yeah.
just get all those games in and out, because we anticipate teams from Milford and Centennial, David City, coming and playing against our Seward teams and Garland teams and things like that.
Mhm.
And so we wanna be the hub, rather than Lincoln as the hub, we wanna be the hub for this area of Nebraska to bring in those communities with us, to give them a place to have a competitive
Mhm.
feel, but give them a place so they can come spend their dollars and hang out in Seward for a while.
That'd be another one of the lines for revenue is, not a tournament, but a league
Mhm.
fees.
And we'll be able to do that basketball, volleyball, pickleball kind of be its own animal, and working with the community and that surrounds that right now. But expanding our flag football offerings, and tackle football's kind of its own monster, such a big league that we're in. But kind of using those as revenue sources and being a hub, having a facility that's open when things are going on. So the good thing is, hey, we got an ice machine, so if you get hurt in flag football and you need a bag of ice, guess what, you can walk in the wellness center and go get a bag of ice and put it on that, and there's people there, versus right now, you're just down at Plum Creek and hopefully your parents got something in a cooler. And so just having some of those amenities and things like that adjacent to us will help, but each one will bring on its own revenue stream. I think we anticipate right now for tournaments, we will take on the Seward Showcase. That will become a revenue generator for the Wellness Center. And Joel will be a part of the transition of that over the next year, and then it will fully go us the year after. And then we anticipate there'll probably be at least one indoor swim tournament. We don't know how many teams and what that will look like, but we anticipate there'll be one day, one Saturday or Sunday, that there'll be a swim tournament going on up there, and the place will be pretty full. And then we don't know the future of competitive swimming if the high school were to take it on or something. We've recommended to them if they do it at the high school level, they only do duels. So it's just 2 teams, a Seward based team and then one other team competing, because there's not enough deck space and others on a regular weekly basis to be hosting something like that.
Part of the challenge for a facility like this is, it seems similar to like the golf course, it's, you know, these events can generate revenue, which is good to offset costs, but you don't wanna have so many events that the people that are members and who otherwise use the facility can't use it because these events are going on. So it's striking that balance to make sure that, you know, you don't have practices in the pool going on the whole time it's open. You need to have opportunities for other people, and there would be schedules so people can plan accordingly. But you don't wanna frustrate the local residents especially, or even anyone in the area, for example, who might have a membership, to come in and realize they can't swim that day because there's a competition going on, or whatever it may be. So that is always gonna be a point of tension, just because you do want the revenue, but you also want to show, you know, have opportunities for those people to be able to use the facility locally as well.
We're also in discussions with the schools actually coming up here in regards to what this will all look like in regards to, because currently we schedule all of the basketball and volleyball courts for the most part in all the school facilities for all the private teams. We get something back because our rec programmings are in the schools at the moment. Once we go to the wellness center, we don't need to have any rec programming in any of the schools anymore. We can do it all hosted at our own site. So we're gonna have a discussion about what that future is gonna look like. But the potential maybe is more of the older kids are at the schools, the younger kids are with us, and then we get to utilize all the facilities to maximize practice times and things like that, and be in age appropriate locations based on what facility you're at. You know, with us, there's more people running around and more oversight, where older kids, you would hope, can be in a more less controlled environment. If they're in 8th grade, they could go practice at the middle school or the high school or something like that and be reliable, so.
After looking at this, I think the daily rates were too low or too high, or what?
No,
what was your- what
no,
were you thinking about that?
my only question was, why, I was trying to understand the rationale for why we would have a higher rate for the out of town on a daily, but not a higher rate than on the out of town on a seasonal.
I was just thinking
Yeah.
as a, not necessarily a perk, but something for residents of being, you know.
Right, but then I guess my question is, it's just the juxtaposition of those 2 out of town rates, whereas, you know, if you're out of town, should it be more for both, or should it be the same for both, is my point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I just didn't know if there was a rationale for that discrepancy, as opposed to, you know, because I understand it, I mean, obviously, we're using tax dollars to fund the facility, and it's not unusual for, like, our library, I think, is it free for a library card if you're in town, but there's a fee if you're out of town, so that's not unusual, but I just was curious if there was a reason for that, because I don't have a preference either way, I'm just trying to understand it.
Again, like I said, I think people in Garland and Staplehurst and Milford are more likely to buy a long-term pass and utilize the facility, where Jessica's sister visiting is gonna come 1 or 2 times a year. She's not gonna buy it. And so you're really offsetting just the visitor traffic that's coming in and having that higher fee and getting a little benefit, because you're gonna get a very small amount of sales tax from those people, where somebody that lives in Staplehurst or Utica is gonna be paying and coming to Seward quite often and helping contribute one way or the other to the success of the facility. That's the only rationale I think that the other facilities use as well. Again, they're also kind of paid for out of all sorts of different pockets, and private and public, or heck, some of them, like Columbus, their hospital paid for the whole thing.
And we've talked before that we'll definitely be doing a membership drive, some type of early bird special type of thing, because the memberships are what's being used for our operational costs. So we're gonna need some money to pay for employees and to to get it going. So we don't wanna use any other money, that's what the idea was, the membership fee. So we'll probably sell those early, give some sort of incentive to sign up early, and then get us kicked off.
You'll see that in the budget, that one of the predominant ones that will come in and we'll begin the process if it's approved in the budget is the child care director, to get them licensed and to license the facility and be ready to go in a timely manner for when it opens. Just even to have the child watch, we need to have a person that's qualified and can do all that, do our due diligence. They probably need to come on about the time of the beginning of the next fiscal year. If we anticipate we're gonna open potentially in March, we'll begin that process, so we'll authorize that. We think like the facilities director, which is the only other full-time one besides Joel and Adam, that one could be hired closer to opening. And so we'll anticipate that in the budget, but we need to have some funds to help start paying for some of those before the facility opens. And so, like Joel said, we need to have some like early bird specials where if you buy it now, you might get 2 months off the first year, but we need you to buy it like 5 months or 4 months in advance. You'll still get a whole 12 months of the facility, but we just need that income now so we can start cash flowing correctly and not be subsidizing that, so.
Well, why do you ask your timeline? So, obviously, unless there's some suggestions for changes from the council, you're gonna take this back, presumably to the change in the game, and then they'll review it. Have they seen this yet? Have they?
No.
Okay, so they'll review this, and then.
Not the whole group.
Okay, and then I assume you'll come back to the council. What's that timeline look like? So the
I would-
council, just so they have opportunity to know, like, let this marinate for a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
And then they'll know how much
Definitely
time.
be a couple months.
Couple months, okay.
Several, yeah, so I don't anticipate taking a membership drive out until November-ish.
I think at end of August, you'll approve these specifically, and then you'll incorporate them in for budgetary purposes. If we set them at these rates, we utilize the math that Joel did to set revenues in the budget. And then that will be approved in September.
You need anything else from us? Any other questions or comments from the council? Thank Joel, I just wanna thank you for all your work on this, cause we are getting to the details, so.
It's getting there.
Alright, thank you. So next we have the city administrator's report.
Yeah, reports in there. We did some follow-up meetings on the 4th of July, but a very successful 4th of July once again here in Seward. Monitoring a lot of the projects that are going on. The Seward Civic Center project is underway, and so every few weeks I'm up there walking through that with the commission and working on that along with Aaron. You saw the progress tonight on the water tower. Highway 15 continues on. As you can see, they're kind of moving their way south in the southbound lane, and so they'll be going for quite a few months. Mike and Brandon were out today with Shimmer, kind of finalizing that Hillcrest water main discussion and doing some plan in hand and trying to figure out the last details of that to get that one underway as the final hurdle for going north. The pool back up and running on Sunday. Kudos to Bob Core and Adam and their crews, and then Brandon Cole and his crews. They went quickly as soon as they could locate what they needed and located down in Texas. They overnighted that thing here, got it into Waverly, got it set back in, and then placed it over last Friday. Actually, they got it in, got the chemicals on board on Saturday to the right setting, and then got it open back on Sunday. So
And can you just talk a little bit about I know there's some chatter about like, why don't we have an extra one of these laying around? Can you kind of touch on
yeah,
that a little bit?
a full-on pump's gonna be anywhere between 15 and 20,000. You would not let a piece of equipment that costs $15,000 to $20,000 sit in those conditions and rot for months and years on end. It would have been years on end if we would have bought another one. And so you don't buy an extra transmission and sit it in your garage, or an engine or exhaust system, but you drive your car every day.
The difference is that, you know, like with your vehicle, you typically can find that replacement part a lot easier than we can find this replacement part. So that would be one difference, is this thing takes a while to locate these types of very specialized equipment. But yeah, that I'd heard that, and I just thought just to kind of address in case you heard that as well. It's not something you would just have, and we have had other pieces of equipment in the city for other purposes that we have backups for, and then by the time you needed it, you actually had to have it then sent off and certified to make sure it still functions the way it's supposed to function. You can't just plug and play and expect it to work. So it does make some sense to have a backup in some instances, but in others, it just can further complicate the replacement and repair process.
We had just had that with the RO plant, correct?
Correct.
We had a pump that was for the third RO skid that we're working on right now. They had purchased that how many years ago, Mike?
About 3.
And we had to send that off for extensive costs to have it go and get it verified that you can even put it into the new skid, because it's sat there so long. That's why you don't buy these things and let them sit there. So,
It's not ideal.
nope,
Obviously, a lot of people rely on the pool in the summer. And so, you know, unfortunately, it's unfortunate it happened, but I do think that our staff did a great job of trying to expedite the solution. It's just never fast enough, you know, it's never there.
and we need to plant the seeds now. She's starting to show her age in regards to the vessel, not just the mechanical elements of the pool. As we know, these tend to last 20 to 30 years on a vessel is kind of the lifespan. And so we need to keep in our minds what the future of a pool system in Seward will look like, whether it's replacement in its current location, redesign its current location, or as the design is phased out, there's space for an outdoor water park at the wellness center, which is also where we house our lifeguards and our staff and everything that we currently have. So that discussion is down the line, but as we phase out the lifespan of the current Downing pool, we need to have that discussion about the location of it and the styling, because, no offense, one of our biggest costs right now is associated with the amount of lifeguards you have to have down there, because
That's
it's not
because the-
designed
And
correctly.
that's because of the shape.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to just having a giant, not proposing a giant rectangle, but you need far fewer lifeguards to cover that than you do a pool that's the shape of ours. And I don't know that that was part of the consideration when it was originally designed and approved. But
In the 40s?
well, but even when they redid it more recently, it's, you know, a lot of people are having shortages of finding lifeguards, period. So, the fewer you need to operate, the better off you are, so.
Just laying the seeds for the discussions that will need to happen down the line here, because she's starting to tell us that it's gonna need some TLC or revamp. And once we get to that point, when it goes, it will go. And then we need to make a quick decision, within a year to figure out what we're gonna do and start design and whatever else is gonna go on. No matter where it's at or what it is, you're gonna, at some point in time, the vessel will fail and you'll need to, move on from that. We already have leaks still that usually we can track them and find them. There's all kinds of neat things that were built into that pool. We're getting to the point now where we can't even find the leaks, but we know it's leaking, which is bad, because it's leaking somewhere that it won't track anymore, so. But again, kudos to the staff, definitely. Adam was on the phone day and night, driving home every night on the phone for his commute, trying to locate impalers and all the elements that were involved in it, and so they did a great job on that. I can answer any other questions you have. Again, just moving through budget season, still anticipating potentially a review, a rendezvous on the 30th at this point. So we still need to bring it to the mayor's final decision on what that will look like, and then roll that out for you for an initial discussion. So still anticipate that as of now.
Anything else, Greg?
That's it?
Any questions or comments for Greg? Otherwise, you entertain a motion to accept the report.
Move to accept the administrator's report.
Motion, you have a second. Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilson, Thomas, Coulterman, Miller, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Okay, do you have any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action? Seeing none. Jonathan? What's going on in Seward?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thursday, July 25th, 7 o'clock will be our next Seward 4th of July committee meeting at the Nebraska National Guard Museum. I'll echo Administrator Butcher's comment. We had a really successful 4th. Thanks to many of you, all the wonderful volunteers that make the magic happen. We would welcome not only existing but new volunteers to join us. There'll be a ribbon cutting on Friday, July 26th at noon with Desert Glow in downtown Seward. Monday, August 19th at 4 is our next quarterly Chamber of Commerce Board meeting. Upcoming professional professional development luncheon on Friday, August 30th, about Generation Z in the workplace. Besides that, again, quick reminder, our sister communities across the county have a lot of summer festivals coming up. We'd welcome you to, as many people come here to Seward for the 4th, we encourage you to go around the county and support our fellow Seward County citizens and all their wonderful festivals that they have going on in the coming weeks. With that, that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. Next up, a strategy session with city attorney regarding real estate interests at the Seward Rail Camp.
All right, I move to city council go into closed session with the mayor, city administrator, city clerk, Jonathan Jenkin, the city attorney for the protection of the public interest, and to discuss real estate interests at the Seward Rail Campus, and to provide the city attorney with negotiating guidance for a period not to exceed 30 minutes.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Please register your votes. Please submit the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkin, Tanya, Coulterman, Miller, Strice, and Morgan, 6-0.
All right, the council is voted to go into closed session at 9:29 PM for the protection, 8:29 PM.
I was like, what?
It's late. 8:29 PM for the protection of the public interest. To discuss real estate interest at the Seward Rail Campus, and to provide the city attorney with negotiating guidance. No formal action will be taken.
Right on there.
We are in closed session.